Hey everybody, Claire Lorridge here for Spiritual Rhythms for the Enneagram. My co-authors, Scott Lowridge and Duggan Adele Calhoun, are offering you practices to stay centered and be your most resourceful, healthy, and best version of yourself. You are more than your type. You're a combination of nature, nurture, and free will. And so your Enneagram style will show up based on many different factors, including your subtype and how you're practicing harmony these days. And so I'm here with the practice for the threes, and so I guess I got voted in because I am a three, and that's not always fun to say to a group of strangers, because people have various ideas around what each style is based on people that they know that are threes. And of course, ranging from the Diagnostic Statistic Manual for Personality Disorder up to sainthood, you could have a number of different experiences with threes. And so the practice that we chose, which feels really painful to even say out loud, but it's really helpful, is when you feel the urge to tell everyone your latest accomplishment, self-mute. So that was my self-muting. And the truth is that there is a beautiful practice for threes called practicing secrecy. And love the scripture in Deuteronomy 29:29. Says the secret things belong to the Lord, and they are revealed to God's people. I think when I first heard that scripture, I longed for some private life, some secret life. And that was at about 40 years old, some 18 years ago. And I wanted to start to practice secrecy and solitude and silence and stillness. I desperately needed it for my own health and well-being, having just recently been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And what happened when I found out that secrecy was one of those great practices where I could just be with God for my own soul's sake, and not to prepare a message as a pastor, or to write something that could be enlivening as a social activist, not to do something fun and charming as an extrovert that could draw people to me and give me the ability to connect and be affirmed and approved of, but actually to practice being with God for God's own sake and for my own soul's sake. It's interesting, just today I was reading from Father Rohr. He talked about Thomas Aquinas saying that people do not consciously choose evil, but they choose something that appears good inside of their framework. So for a three who's trying to be effective and connective and networking, it can feel like within our own framework that telling you everything is really helpful. And yet it can be unhelpful when you're always on, when you're always performing, when you're always connecting. I have a friend who on Facebook, he's a three, he puts his bowling scores all the time. Every trip he ever takes, every person he's ever with. And so I wonder if being secret could be helpful for him. I know that for myself, I have a great gift of advertising. It's one of the reasons that I can preach the gospel, is because I really want to tell people about what God has done in my life. And for our book, for our Enneagram training and certification course, I can get all kinds of things out there and inspire people to be a part of what I'm up to. And it also can become this compulsion that constricts around my heart and tells me a lie that if you don't reach back out to me, that somehow I'm not okay. I'm not approved of. And so, these things that threes are good at, networking, inspiring, motivating, and can also be a part of the framework that is their false self. And so, we want to be able to practice these kinds of things like secrecy in order to let go of the advertising, let go of the need to always let you know what we're up to, what we've succeeded at, what we have accomplished, so that we can have approval, connection, and affection. So I think there is this part of learning health and practice with secrecy to close ourselves off in a room and find a place where only you and God dwell on a regular and rhythmic basis. Choosing not to post every day on your social media, choosing not to read how you did on Goodreads or the Amazon stuff if you've written a book to find out, how you're doing and what people think. That in the secrecy of your own heart, saying, God, what is it that you might want to say to me? And relying on God, with God, alone with God, for my own soul's sake. I think there is this beautiful gift that when we realize that we don't see things as they are, but we see them as we are, and choosing to move away from what others might think about what you've done, what you've accomplished, how you failed, that threes can really get healthy. Today, in my lectionary reading, Isaiah 55, 8 and 9 was a part of that. My thoughts are not your thoughts, and my ways are not your ways. As high as the heavens are above the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. And if I can get away and be with God and close the door in my own secret room of my soul, I can hear what God thinks and not what you think, and not what your approval rating of me is, but what God says. So for my fellow threes, I just invite you to secrecy. I invite you to solitude, and in solitude, some silence. Silencing your own way of thinking and feeling, the habit of mind, the habit of heart, and welcoming all three centers of intelligence. Let your little three heart calm and listen to your six and ask the question, why do you need to tell anybody that? What is that about? And can you just move away like a 9? And as my friend Stephen Hatch would say, become sacred backdrop and allow yourself to move away and be in the back and be alone with God for God's own sake and for your own soul's sake. And allow whatever God says to be secret. And you don't have to tell everybody. You don't have to write it in an article or post it on your Facebook page or tell somebody. Just silence the advertising for this moment and let the bread that God gives you be for just you and you alone. Bless you, my fellow three friends, with the gift of secrecy. Bye.